What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Dolphins have been busy today, which is great for me because that means I have plenty to talk about. Unfortunately, there will be no comments today, just foreshadowing for that. But we're going to start with the big news of the day. The Dolphins have picked up Daniel Brunskill, who is a offensive lineman from Tennessee that literally has played every offensive line position. And you guys know I am a big fan of versatility in all respects. I love, I can play corner or safety. I can play left guard or right guard because it gives the team more versatility. I know there are specialists who I'm just a left guard, right guard, you know, I'm a nose tackle. Cool. Specialties are good. When a team is low on cap money and we're trying to figure out where people fit, you need more versatility because maybe you played left guard with Tennessee, but we don't need left guard help. We need right guard help. I don't want to just say, well, I guess you're our backup left guard. We don't have that doesn't make sense to me. If you say, hey, I'm more comfortable at left guard because I'm right-handed and I can get whatever, but I can flip because I've been both sides. Daniel literally has played every position. He's played center and right guard the most, like over 1,000 snaps, right? So a lot of experience on the center to right guard, but it's played left guard and both tackles. I don't anticipate he will have to play tackle this year. I do think that Patrick and Austin are going to run that situation, but doesn't matter. He can plug and play. The reason we picked him up in the first place, though, is because Liam Eichenberg has been placed on the pup list, which means he is not available to practice until he's off the list. This is a injury thing. This is the team. He's not able to practice right now. Whatever reason, they haven't gone into all the details on that right now. But just know Liam Eichenberg currently not practicing, and he's built to be our like reserve offensive lineman for the moment, especially at guard. And if he's not there, we do need somebody to take reps. Daniel, 31 years old, a little bit older, longer in the tooth, but has always been consistently solid at his position. He played at San Francisco with Coach McDaniel at one point. Then he went to Tennessee. So the reason we picked him up is because he's familiar with Coach McDaniel's blocking scheme. So the learning curve much lower. Awesome. Because if he was just a guy off the street, not every team blocks the same way, which seems intuitive, right? We all have different run schemes. There's different blocking schemes, there's different terminology. If you're aware of what those are going into it, totally cool. I think that's why we drafted Quinn Ewers at quarterback because Texas ran a very similar scheme to what we run here in Miami. And so we thought, hey, there may be better talented players than Quinn, but we know he'll get the system quicker, which means we can see if you're good or not quicker. If you're like, oh yeah, give me a couple weeks to learn a playbook, are you good? Are you good or not? We don't know yet. But if you come in and say, "Hey, I'm familiar with 24Z left," like you know the term, we can go. Now you may not be able to make the throw, fine. In this case, Daniel, I think, will be ideally available to help us with our guard position. We're hoping that Daniels and Savanea are going to hold us down on the guard situation, but Daniels is recovering from a offseason injury, right? Well, really, we got surgery in September, so more than offseason. But he's recovering from a surgery where he should be ready right as the year starts. I have said many times I do not think he'll be available week one because he said he's progressing on schedule, and usually on schedule for that kind of surgery, you're looking at 9 to 12 months, right? So if he got hurt in September, surgery later in September, we start the year in September, right? So that means that we're coming right around that year mark when the year begins. But that's just like I'm recovered. You still got to get conditioned. So I imagine that he might be healthy enough to play week one, meaning if we need him in a pinch, all right, get out there, James. But I think he's going to be on the pup list for the first 4 weeks. I think they'll use that time to really get him ramped up cardio wise. I assume when you have a lower body injury when you're an offensive lineman, it's very possible to get overweight because you're not able to run to keep your weight regulated. So I haven't seen him, obviously, because he's not like practicing, but he might not be at the weight that he needs to play at, which can be 10, 12 pounds, nothing crazy. I'm not saying he gained 50 pounds. I'm saying when you've been off your leg for months on end and you're naturally 315 pounds, you being 325, 330, very easy to happen. And so I don't believe Daniels is going to be available week one. I do think Jonah will be. And I think it's very possible that Daniel might be filling in that position. Larry might be in that position too, but we'll see. Those two will battle it out, which again, I love competition at the line position Let's let those two battle it out. Which one of you guys are going to hold his position for the first 4 weeks? Then we bring in Daniels. He fills in. Now him and Jonah can kind of man that guard position, and we move going forward. I think it's a smart move. It definitely makes the team more versatile. It makes the idea of Liam Eichenberg playing this year even more remote because if he's not as good as Daniel is, then he's just not really going to play. He now becomes like our emergency offensive lineman. And if we get to him, that means that we've had a couple more offensive lineman injuries, which we don't want. So I'm knocking on wood that we really don't see Liam, but who knows? I mean, we're the Dolphins, so injuries kind of happen. Like a lot of you guys, when the Dolphins signed Darren Waller news came out, I was shocked. I'm like, why? Where did this come from? Why'd you choose Miami? Didn't you run away from a bunch of money with the Giants? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? And so apparently Darren Waller was asked recently, hey, what made you not only come out of retirement? Because I believe most people in sports do things for money, generally. I'm gonna say 8 out of 10 times is money, 2 out of 10 it could be like family and scheme fit. But most of the time, hey, they offer me the most money. I thought I could make money here. That's what I generally believe. But he had money on the table with the Giants, much bigger market, worse team. But again, you're in New York. If you're in New York on the Giants and you're playing well, they love their football. The New York Football Giants. So for him to walk away from that story franchise and the money, I didn't think that it was money that brought him back, right? So this is what Darren Waller had to say. He said, Frank Smith, who is our offensive coordinator, was a big deal why I wanted to be here. And just seeing the way they do things, like the way Mike McDaniel is so innovative in the weapons they that are on offense. And I got guys like Alec Engel, who was a friend of mine from playing with him before, and how highly he speaks of just being here, not only for the team and the community. So it was somewhere I definitely wanted to be. That so you see in that whole thing, he didn't mention money once, which is what I wanted to hear, like because there were probably teams who would have paid him a little bit more money. And again, we're only paying him a guaranteed 2 million, which is not life shattering money. I think he probably could possibly gone back to the Giants and kind of finished his contract. But really, he's like, hey, I know the offense. Again, we talked about this with Daniel, where he played with Coach McDaniel before. He knows terminology and scheme, so I can fit in. Same thing with Darren Waller. Played with Frank Smith before, knows how he coaches tight ends, understands the nuances of the offense. So why wouldn't I go to the offensive coordinator who I already knows how to coach me? He coached me before. He knows what I can do. I know what he does. Perfect. I can easily slide into the offense. Now, is Darren in shape? Not exactly. He too was placed on the pup list today. So again, a lot of things happening. He's on the team. Yes. He got a jersey today. Yes. Is he practicing? He is not. So him and Liam Eichenberg, both on the pup list. Neither of them is practicing. I imagine Darren is for sure not in shape. He hasn't played football in more than a year, but we'll get him there. And I like the fact that he didn't mention like the opportunity, like I just want to be a star again. I think Miami is a city that can be intoxicating. It can kind of pull you in, lights, cameras, all that good stuff, right? But the idea that hey, I know a guy who's already on the team. He talks about the community. He talks about the way they go about doing things here. I want to be part of a community. I want to be part of a team that I think is doing things the right way. And honestly, like for someone like Darren Waller, and I don't know him like personally. I'm just like from afar. It seems like he's someone who needs a circle. Like he needs a community of people around him to hold him down. Like if you leave him to his own devices, he might drift. And he needs people around him who one are committed to him, two are solid people, and then three people that can like lift him up and encourage him and get the best out of him. So he talked about knowing the offensive coordinator, but then how innovative Coach McDaniel is because he is a talent. He's a talent. That's how he got money in the first place. And when you're a talent, you need to be utilized properly. Otherwise, people start thinking you're not talented, i.e., Kyle Pitts, who was top five pick at tight end, went to Florida, shout out to the Gators, and all of a sudden it's like, is this guy even good at football? Like, where does Kyle Pitts rank as tight end? Top 30, maybe? There are probably backup tight ends who are more productive than Kyle Pitts is. But that doesn't mean he's a bad player. He just hasn't found the right scheme yet in Atlanta because they don't know how to use his talent properly. Maybe they will this year. They have a quarterback. We'll see what they do. But Darren Waller to me is not dramatically less talented than Kyle Pitts is. But outside of his first couple of years with the Raiders, he really hasn't been what he should have been. And I do think it's a situation where, hey, you're super talented. Why don't you go block that? Why don't you go chip that defensive end real quick and then run 5 yards and turn around? It's like, dude, I could run fast. I'm tall. Why don't you get me down the field like on different routes? Nah, just keep it basic. Just a basic seam, a nice little out route. Throw those hands up, and it's like, well, you're not gonna get the best out of me if you don't know how to do all the things I can do. And I think that's a big reason why he wants to be here. And I think Coach loves talented guys because he can make the most of them as well. So I'm really happy with the idea, the scheme fit. We will see what level of football shape he is in because he has to get in football shape, and then how fast he can learn the offense because our overall offense is not what he's been used to. He understands like the tight end part of the game. There's a lot more motion in Miami's offense than any other team in the league, and Frank Smith is learning offense like motion because Coach McDaniel was like asking him to do that. So there'll be a lot of times where maybe Darren Waller's used to just being, one hand in the ground, going upfield, where he may be running around in the motion a little bit more. I'm curious how he's going to adapt to that part, but we can handle that down the line. Back to our top 25 in the last 25, and number 16 is going to be Randy Starks. Now, Randy Starks is another guy who maybe is not like the flashy, oh man, look at me, Louis kind of guy, but just was a solid contributor. 7 years with the team, started 96 games. That's basically what, 6 full seasons of starts? Like, that's awesome. That means one, healthy. Two, you kept your job. Super important. We know how quickly a young gunner can come around and take your job. When the Dolphins signed him, he wasn't living up to his potential. Right? He was with the Titans before. He was just like a guy that, hey, if you put it all together, he can be good. And he never put it together with them. Then he came here and he was just a really solid professional the whole time. Was a Pro Bowler 2 different times. So it wasn't just like, oh, he's good for us, right? There are people that teams like a guy who isn't like a great player, but like that's our guy. But when you get named to the Pro Bowl, that means that people recognize your talent. So he made the Pro Bowl twice. Had 30 sacks over 7 years. Not a ton of sacks, but again, he played mostly interior D line. And we moved him around because he was versatile enough to be kind of a nose tackle, kind of a, three technique. We can move him around. So he was a super versatile guy, great against the run, which is what we've struggled with the last couple of years. Not good up in the middle, not good against the run, not good at the point of attack. And when you're not good against the run, your defense is not good. I don't care how good your corners are. If you can't stop the run, you can't stop teams. We watched a team like the Dallas Cowboys last year with multiple Pro Bowlers on the D line, they couple good corners, and when they play teams that run the ball, they get bludgeoned because they can't get off the field. When you got to commit safeties down into the box, when linebackers are creeping up trying to like get up and they just getting pushed around. It does not matter if you have a Pro Bowl corner if you can't stop the run. It's just the way it is. And when you can stop the run with four, max five, it opens up the entire defense. So again, kind of with Kenneth Grant earlier, we talked about what is his impact going to be this year. I said stat wise, probably not anything crazy. Some tackles for loss, maybe a couple sacks. What I need him to do is consume bodies and just lock that whole middle up. Let our linebackers flow. So now our linebackers can just go make tackles. I don't have to worry about getting off a tackle or a guard to make a play. I could just flow to the ball and then make tackles. We have fast linebackers, just go make the play. Randy Starks is one of those guys that he allowed the rest of the defense to be good because he did his job. Now our linebackers can move more easily. Now our DNs can get one-on-one matchups and actually get to the quarterback. It's an unsung job. It's a dirty job, but it's what like a Jalen Carter type guy. Jalen Carter is probably the highest level of what that is because he's such a destructive force in the middle, but also gets pass rush, which makes him like an extra elite because he's doing two jobs at a super high level. But we saw Aaron Donald just run the middle of defenses where if you can control the middle of the defensive line, or I guess by default, the middle of the offensive line, then you can't you control the whole flow of the game. Because most quarterbacks, there's probably like three or four that are fine with it, don't like pressure up the middle. Don't like when the middle gets jammed. If they can't step up in the pocket, it challenges them more than they want to be challenged, right? Yes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick can all kind of flow, Most quarterbacks, if they can't step up or they feel like that pocket is starting to collapse, they become a way worse player. That happens with Tua. If Tua doesn't feel that middle is protected, he gets antsy in the pocket and starts vacating. And once you start flowing out of the middle of the pocket, now the defense is like, oh, we got him where we want him. Because now he's flowing to one side. And most quarterbacks can't flip and throw to the opposite side of the field. So you basically half where the ball is most likely to go. Because if you start running one way, throwing across your body, that's a pick waiting to happen. We've seen it over and over again. Shout out to Brett Favre, where if you run to one side, throw across your body, that pick is most likely happening. Even if you complete the ball, it's not the most high percentage play. But that happens because the middle got destroyed. That's what Randy did for us. And shout out to you, Randy. I think this is maybe a little high on the list, but also, hey, love. Now, the reason we're not doing a comment is because Tyreek Hill put out a post today that echoed something that I felt for a while. I've got a lot of blowback from people who are mad that I keep bringing up all these like Instagram races and why is like Tyreek wanting to have fun and do stuff. Why does that bother you? It doesn't bother me. My whole position has been how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's how I feel about it. I've never believed that people who were really destructive off the field can compartmentalize that fully and not let it bleed into on the field. We've seen it with legends like the Michael Irvins of the world and others, where hey, you're living that wild of life. At some point, it's going to come home to roost. At some point, it's going to. You can keep it at bay for a while. You can keep people in your inner circle that can, we saw Urban Meyer with Florida. How much nonsense was happening in that program? Y'all know I'm a Gator fan, but Urban Meyer kept a lot of stuff at bay with reporters and the media, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you have a murderer on your team, like, and that's you have a vigilante playing football, plus all these other things. But hey, we won 2 championships, baby. We did it, and for that little run, everybody was perfect. We love the Gators, yeah, Tim Tebow, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's all this nonsense going on? You can't keep it away forever. I love Tyreek Hill, the player on the field. He's electric. He's sudden. He's fun. Like he understands that football is a game. He also understands that the fans are a big part of the game. There's nothing not to like about the way he plays the game. I do not love how Tyreek handles his life outside of the football because I feel like his focus is not on football. And that's fine if you don't want to be, to me, like the ultra greats. But his talent is ultra great. And when he gets in trouble, it's usually because things are a little bit erratic. Now, I bring all this up because Tyreek Hill today said, I've never fully given myself to football. I'm curious what it will be like if I focus on football and family because I haven't given my best version of Tyreek my whole career. And so when I talk about, oh, why is they here trying to race Noah Lyles and I show speed? That to me is a focus issue. That's not, it's not that it's a bad thing because I think people hear that and think, oh, you're demonizing someone having fun. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's that if you're not focused on little details, is actually what made the Patriots great their whole run with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They were so buttoned up on on little details. Very rarely had penalties. Very rarely had turnovers. Always good on third down. Always good on fourth down. Really good in the fourth quarter. Rarely missed field goals. Almost never had the most talent. They just did all the little stuff well. They would get the punt block at the right time. The punter would pin the ball inside the 10, or they would stop it like right before. They wouldn't get the touchback. Tom Brady, if it's 3rd and 4, will get you 5 yards. Goskowski was great. Um, Vinatieri was great. Like they did all the little stuff. If they had a game that got characteristically like turnovers and stuff, then it was like the next week immediately button back up. And they showed that you don't have to have the most talent in the world to be great. And so many teams that were more talented than them had way less success because they weren't locked in. Miami's whole thing since Mike McDaniel's been down here, super talented. But, different egos and people kind of doing their own thing here, doing their thing here. What's the culture like? We're just having fun. It's a lot of noise. What I don't hear anyone talk about up until right now, man, that Miami Dolphins team is really locked in. Man, Tyreek is really locked in. Man, Tua's like the consummate leader. Like people didn't talk about that. And so when I bring up the Tyreek racing thing, it's more because what he told me and you guys by extension, I want to be a captain. I got to lock in. I want to be a better leader. And then he showed me I'm still the same guy I was before. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I can't trust your word, can I trust you? If you're telling me, hey, I never given my best to football, but I've been great, so it's cool. This sounds very Antonio Brown like to me. And I bring Antonio Brown up a lot because I think Antonio Brown is a decent comp in terms of production to Tyreek Hill. I think Antonio Brown's a Hall of Famer. I also think Antonio Brown, wild boy. And we saw he kept it in under wraps a lot in Pittsburgh, but towards the end, not so much. And then he immediately blew up the Raiders situation. Went to Tampa, got a championship, and then blew it up again because it just wasn't buttoned in. It's amazing as talented as he is. And again, Hall of Famer to me. You can't keep it at bay forever. And there's a lot of smoke around Tyreek. A lot. I think many things that we don't even know in the media. But he's so good on the field that we just let it rock. I would love, just like Tyreek said, to see how he would be fully locked in for a full season on him, his family, and just focus on the game. Doesn't mean you can't have fun. Like if you make a touchdown, do a backflip, I don't care about that. If you go give a football to the fans, totally cool. I watched Cam do that his whole MVP year. But just lock it in. That's all I want. And if the self awareness is a big part of this, I'm happy he said it. Now let's see what he does with it. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We will see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.